Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is a nice, very beautiful spring day. Cows are up here at the watering trough, and they're in pretty good shape. As you can see, these South Pole heifers are fixing to calve, and they are making pretty good bag, and they're starting to spring, which means their vaginal area is getting soft and starting to relax so that they can have a calf here shortly. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking to you about the fire ant issues that we have in Texas, and those of you in Texas know that it's a massive problem, and if you leave the fire ants unchecked in your pastures, they will absolutely take over your pastures. And I'm going to put a clip in here showing you a pasture that I see when I drive to work every morning, and see how it looks compared to this pasture here. And this pasture has some fire ants. This is a typical fire ant mound on my place, and you can see the clay coming up from underneath the sand that the fire ants put there. If I disturb that fire ant den, you're going to see those things start to boil out here in just a minute. But these things are a huge pest here, and a lot of times these fire ant mounds will be next to trees in the pasture, and they crawl up the trees, and if you lean on a tree or pick up a dead branch that has fire ants on it, they will absolutely eat you alive. And so control is part of the program, and the question is, how do you control them? And I think it can be a little bit of a difficult task in that you have to choose between a variety of poisons that are available versus some natural remedies. And I've researched it quite a bit online, YouTube and online, and I just don't get a good feel for any one way that's better than another. I know the poisons will definitely eradicate them, at least at that mound, if the poison that you use is taken down and kills the queen. Look at those things, and this is a pretty mild den. Usually when you disturb these things, they come rolling out of there. But these things are scattered throughout the pasture. I don't have many in this pasture or any of my pastures now, because I, over the last couple of years, have been taking and putting a little bit of chemical on them to try to eradicate them. So there's a few mounds in here. Here's one over here. Let me just show you it. This one looks like it's really active. And these things, the cattle will step in them, and if they stand anywhere close, once they stepped in them, those things will get on them, and pretty soon they're shaking their foot. So this is a typical fire ant mound in this pasture. Again, there's clay pretty close to underneath the sandy soil. Here's the sand here, and they bring up that clay. So watch when I disturb that, and here they come. And I'm telling you, when these things get on you, there won't be one. I think they wait till about 100 of them are on you, and then they all say bite at once, and you do know it. They're named fire ants for a reason. You'll get a little tiny blister at each bite that'll then get a white head on it, itch like crazy, and when you scratch off that little white infected thing about 3 days out from the bite, you just got raw tissue there, and they hurt. They're not fun, but they are everywhere. So I'm going to show you a pasture where they're just lots and lots of mounds, and the primary reason for doing this video is to see if anybody else out there has any really nice methods for eradicating the fire ants that are more along the regenerative aspect with regard to no chemicals, no poisons in the ground. So I'm going to show you how I kill these things, and I want to just generate discussion, so don't be mad. This YouTube channel is all about discussing ideas, and meaning I don't want you to be aggravated at me because I'm using a chemical, but that's what I've done, and I want to get feedback from y'all. So look at this one. I'm gonna disturb it, and they just come boiling out of there. And when it gets a little hotter, there'll be a lot of eggs right underneath the surface, and they just make more and more and more of the same. So if left unchecked, you'll have these mounds all the way through your pasture, and it's really aggravating to drive over your pasture, and the bites are aggravating as well. Here's a pasture along our county road that's on my way to work, and this pasture is just loaded with fire ant mounds. You can see all of them scattered across the landscape there, and they are just a nuisance. The mounds themselves are a nuisance. If you're going to do anything out in the pasture, the amount of fire ants these mounds can hold is absolutely quite impressive. And you can see that when I go up and disturb this mound, there's just fire ants everywhere. And so I think one of the things we need to do is figure out a way to take care of these pests. They're an imported pest that has gradually taken over the South and the Southeast, and how is most appropriate to get rid of them is what I would like you all to comment on, because I honestly don't know. I'm going to show you what I do, but I am all ears with regard to other options to try to eradicate these on our farms here in the South. So that's the subject of what I want to do. So please comment below, and I'm going to show you how I handle them in the next little segment. So today I'm using this product, triazicide, and it gets a lot of things, but we're putting it directly on the ant colonies and not spreading it out any further than that. So I put a little bit directly on the mound. And so I'm in my Kubota, and I just drive to where the mounds are. I've got my triazide in a little cup here, and I've already disturbed this mound, and I just put just a little bit on that mound, and it'll kill them. So I'm just out in the pasture looking for these mounds as I drive. Here I see one that's not right beside my Kubota, so I'm going to get out and again do the same thing. I typically disturb them. I usually drive over them, which I'll show you here in just a second. So I'm going to drive over the mound with my left front tire, and I'll show you this one here, and disturb it So left front tire, hard right, and that puts the mound right beside my buggy. Put a little bit of the chemical there and drive on to the next one. And so I have this with me wherever I go this time of year. The spring is when they get really to be a problem, and you start seeing them real bad in the pastures. And I'll kill those out, and hopefully that will resolve my problem. So anxious to hear your comments. I recognize the concern with the chemical, and I'm trying to get away from that, and would love to have y'all give me some feedback on what you do that is helpful in this situation. So with that, this is my fire ant deal, and I appreciate you watching, and pray that you will stay in the saddle, and thank you for riding along with me. Have a great day.